With episode 4 airing on Sunday, we're now officially halfway through season 2, but buckle up because there's still a long journey ahead. Alex and Spencer are still going through hell to make it to Montana, Teonna can't find peace, and the Duttons, they have not a single clue about what Whitfield and Banner are planning for them. Now let's dive into episode 4 and talk about what will happen in episode 5, shall we? Get ready for some trailer sleuthing, by the way. Titled Only Gunshots to Guide Us, Episode 5 synopsis reads, The search for Teonna continues. Alexandra and Spencer find their footing on two different trains. It seems like Episode 5 will mainly take place away from Montana, but let's start with Alex and what will happen in Montana. Alex and Elizabeth. I really like how different these women are, but at the same time, I feel like they're like two pieces of a puzzle. You'll understand what I mean in a few minutes. Just as I predicted last week, Alex's screen time in episode 4 was pretty limited. We finally see what happens after that creepy man follows her into the bathroom. Unfortunately, he steals her money, attacks her, and leaves her on the floor. You know what? I was really hoping Alex would be able to fight back more. But at least she manages to bite his finger, giving us all a small moment of relief. For a second, I thought she would miss the train to Boston, but thankfully, her being the determined woman she is, Alex manages to catch it, and finally, she has a place to get some rest. But there's something off. After she reaches her sleeping car, she meets another woman she's sharing the space with. Alex simply explains what happened, mentioning that the man took everything as she touches her belly. And that moment really makes me wonder, could this be foreshadowing a miscarriage? Let's not forget that Alex saw a pregnant woman bleeding in episode 3. All these scenes are like Chekhov's gun. They're not random, so these two incidents make me really worried about Alex's pregnancy. Now it's time to talk about Elizabeth. In this episode, she says that she wants to take the rabies shot herself, and I'm really proud of her for this. She's been suffering a lot, and she definitely had her crybaby moments, but in this episode, she proves that she's ready to grow up. As she struggles through the pain, Kara realizes that this much pain isn't normal. Thankfully, the doc is still around. He's one of the Duttons at this point, but anyway. It turns out that Elizabeth is pregnant. The scene where Kara and Jacob watch Jack and Elizabeth celebrating was a nice break from all the chaos, right? Oh, remember when I said that Alex and Elizabeth are like two pieces of a puzzle? Well, I'm starting to feel like one of them has to survive and one of them might not make it. Elizabeth's pregnancy only makes Alex's miscarriage theory seem even more likely, and it really worries me about her future in the Dutton line. In episode 5, things won't get any easier for Alex. She has no money, and I think she'll be stuck in Boston for a while until she can afford a ticket. The synopsis reveals that she'll still be on the train for most of episode 5, but we'll see how that plays out. As for Elizabeth, Jacob mentions in episode 4 that maybe she needs a break and should go to Boston for a while. For a second, I was like, Alex will run into Elizabeth in Boston? But now that Elizabeth knows she's pregnant, I doubt she'll want to be away from Jack. So no, I don't think we'll see them meeting anytime soon. Also, I don't expect Elizabeth to cause any drama in episode 5. Unfortunately, there aren't any other scenes of these characters in the official season 2 trailer, so the rest of the season is quite mysterious for these two. But what about others? Whitfield and Banner. Episode 4 finally gives us some insight into Whitfield's plans, and it's not good news for the Duttons. Whitfield is planning to run a winter park resort, and guess what? It includes the Dutton land. Shocker, right? As for Banner, he seems a bit hesitant about the whole thing, which is interesting. In previous episodes, we saw Banner admit that Whitfield scares him. In episode 4, he even talks to his wife about how he's not totally comfortable with the idea of ruining a family just to save his own. Like, Banner is not pure evil. Just like the Duttons, he's trying to survive too. Of course, that doesn't change the fact that he's making a huge mistake by siding with Whitfield. Anyway, as it turns out, his wife seems pretty okay with it, which makes me think that Banner switching sides is unlikely at this point. Whitfield, on the other hand, is ready to take things further. He asks Banner to build that army he promised, and the war for the Dutton land, my friends, is getting closer with each episode. Remember that shot from the season 2 trailer where Banner throws a body off a cliff? Well, it seems like in episode 5, we'll have that scene. Ever since the trailer dropped, I've been wondering who that person could be, and now we know. It's Christy. one of the prostitutes Whitfield refused to let go. I'm so sorry for this girl. That aside, this scene is way more important than it seems. In episode 4, Whitfield tells Banner about a place where there is no law, meaning no crime, and throwing the prostitute's body off the cliff, that's just practice, as Whitfield says. This man has bigger plans. He wants Banner to eliminate the Duttons one by one, and this lawless place is exactly where he expects Banner to dispose of them. This must be the famous train station we know from Yellowstone. Does that mean we'll get to learn the origins of this place in the upcoming episodes? Oh, and I wonder if Banner will manage to kill at least one of the Duttons. What do you think about that? The Duttons. The Duttons have been through a lot recently, but I think episode 5 will be the turning point where they finally start making some solid plans. My theory is that they'll learn about Whitfield's plans for the winter resort, and that will push them to find a way to save their land. I mean, what other choice do they have? Spencer is still in Texas, and they have to come up with at least one plan in case Spencer can't make it to Montana in time. In the season 2 trailer, we see a moment between Jacob and Sheriff McDowell. McDowell says he's trying to prevent a war, but Jacob rightfully tells him that it's not preventable. I feel like this scene will happen in episode 5. McDowell has been a loyal friend to the Duttons, and I believe he'll stand by them until the very end. Other than these storylines, I believe episode 5 will mostly be set in Texas, revealing more of Spencer and Teonna's storylines. Spencer and Teonna. Episode 4 continues Spencer's misery as he crosses paths with a new sheriff, and no, it's not Mamie Fawcett. This time, it's the sheriff who was involved in killing Luca. Apparently, he knows Spencer was with Luca, so he basically forces him to drive them to the address he has. As everything spirals into chaos, Spencer manages to escape and jumps onto a train. Yep, just like his wife did earlier. But well, if you thought this guy could rest for a second, you're dead wrong. He's not alone, and his new friends aren't that friendly. After Spencer does what needs to be done to survive, he gets off the train and continues walking, not exactly knowing where to go. I really thought this episode would be the one where he finally meets Mamie, but it looks like we'll have to wait until episode 5 for that encounter. In the season 2 trailer, Mamie isn't exactly friendly when talking to him. I mean, she's pointing a gun at the guy. But in this leaked photo, we also get to see them riding horses side by side, which makes me think she somehow recruits him to help find Marshall Kent and Father Reno. As for Teonna, in this episode, she finally seems happy and relaxed until she stumbles upon her own face on a wanted poster, of course. That moment changes everything. The episode doesn't exactly reveal what her next move will be, but honestly, it's pretty obvious, right? She has no choice but to run away. In the season 2 trailer, we have this scene, which will appear in episode 5, I believe. What worries me is this. In this shot, we only see 2 horses. Does that mean something bad will happen to either her boyfriend or father? Teonna, just like every single character we love in this show, deserves a break, and above all, her freedom. I still believe she may head to Montana with Spencer, but I don't think episode 5 will be the one where they'll meet. What else do you think will happen in episode 5? Let me know in the comments below, and watch this video next.